Welcome to the Bible Savvy Podcast, a weekly conversation about how to understand, enjoy, and apply God's Word. It's time to jump into a new passage from the Bible Savvy reading plan.
Hey, Bible Savvy Nation. I'm here with Courtney and David. David, what's the question?
All right, this one's going to crush your soul. Would you rather have hiccups for a day or sneeze every 30 seconds for an hour? Hiccups for a day or sneeze every 30 seconds for an hour?
Oh my gosh.
I choose sneezing because it's only an hour and sneezing kind of feels good.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's a hot take.
Like if you let it out, that's because you a sneeze holder? Like, are you one of those people
are you
that's
a
like
sneeze holder?
Like if you sneeze
is
like
that a
this.
thing?
Yeah, if you sneeze like this, if you sneeze like
walk around like
I want to know how that sounded at the microphone.
That's definitely a video version of okay.
If you sneeze like that, then you hate sneezing. But if you sneeze with every ounce of yourself, like the snot is cleared.
But
you're gonna feel
but
so
then you
good.
do it again in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
For 1 hour, you're gonna be like cleared out.
But the 30-second buildup of like, it's so painful.
Would it change if you had to be at work the whole time, like around people?
Oh, she'd just be like, I'm having a meeting with you, David.
I'd be like, well, that sounds like a great time.
Because also when people are seeing you like, oh, I don't want to be, hiccups is like, that doesn't affect me. Your hiccups don't affect,
but that's just like,
your sneezes do affect me, and I don't,
How long is the hiccuping? I already know what my answer is, but
day.
For
24 hours.
Here's what I want to say. One hiccup is too many. Hiccups is the worst of the ordinary ailments. The worst. It is so disruptive. It feels like someone is like turning my brain on and off. It's like flipping the lights. It's like, oh, I got to reset like that. Mm-hmm. It is like a tiny person inside of your chest punching you in the sternum over and over again, and you don't know when it's coming.
Hey.
And you don't know when it's done.
Hey, gentleman.
It is the worst. I hate hiccups.
Try having a tiny human inside of you who's also hiccuping.
I feel all of the sympathy. No, it's the worst. Hiccups are the worst. When people are like, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask God about mosquitoes and stuff. I'm like, no. Hiccups. There's no good reason. Everything about it's wrong. They're from the devil. It's like pickles and hiccups belong together. They're the worst things. Wow. Oh my gosh.
I mean, Clayton, I have hiccups.
So you're choosing sneezing.
And here's the truth. In my home, when Dad has the hiccups, Mom's like, don't talk to your father. Like I go in the other room because they make me. I'm like, ah. My greatest fear is that I'm going to be preaching and I'm going to get the hiccups and I'm going to be like, y'all don't want me to open my mouth right now because this makes me mad. I'm sweating.
I need to be in the wings more during.
Oh my gosh.
I have never seen you so fiery, Clayton. This is new for me.
Hiccups.
Wow.
I hate them.
So you're choosing the sneezing.
I'm choosing the sneezing.
Okay.
After all the grief I just gave you, I'm choosing the sneezing.
All right. Well, but okay. Now I have to clarify. Now I have to dig a little bit. So okay, maybe hiccups for a day is too much. Is there a certain time frame of like, what if it was only an hour? Like if you had to hiccup for an hour versus sneezing every 30 seconds, would you choose hiccups?
Oh, it would have to be a fairly short amount of hiccups. Like it would not be 1-to-1. Like I would never pick the hiccups over the sneezing if it was an hour versus an hour.
Oh, okay. Would you change your answer, Courtney?
If it were an hour
instead of a day?
And I realize that's irrational, but
hiccups for an hour?
I'm telling you, I kind of like sneezing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, I would force a sneeze sometimes.
I might get it down to like a quarter of an hour.
Yeah.
Because
I think quarter of an hour.
I think the recovery on the sneezing would be pretty miserable.
Yeah.
Like if you did that, you like just your everything inside of your head for weeks would just be raw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! This is shocking to me. I would choose hiccups. I don't enjoy sneezing. It really bothers me.
That's weird.
It feels like I feel like I need a tissue, and then 30 seconds. Like by the time you're like, okay, I've like gotten it off of me, it comes back again, and I feel like I couldn't be around anybody. I'd have to be in like a room by myself, but I'm an extrovert.
For an hour.
I'm an extrovert, guys.
Be in a room for an hour,
but
and
sneezing every 30 seconds.
Yeah,
that's 120 sneezes. Did I do that math right?
Every 30 seconds.
120.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, no, this is a terrible.
No.
This is a terrible thing.
That sounds.
Last week you made us get rid of pizza, and now you're inflicting hiccups and sneezes on the world.
New questions.
All right,
that's good.
Let's talk about something completely unrelated. We are in Luke 22. This is, I believe, is this the last passage in Luke we're doing together? I think it might be.
Yeah.
We'll find out next week. This is the last week of Jesus' life. So that's the context you need to know. This is the night before he is going to die, and he is going to celebrate the Passover with his disciples. So let's pick it up in verse 7.
Then came the day of unleavened bread on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover." "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" they asked. He replied, "As you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room? Where may I eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there." They left and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table. And he said to them, "I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God." After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was considered to be greatest. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them will call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. You are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat, but I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." But he replied, "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death." Jesus answered, "I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny 3 times that you know me." Then Jesus asked them, "When I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything?" "Nothing," they answered. He said to them, "But now, if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, 'And he was numbered with the transgressors.' And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment." The disciples said, "See, Lord, here are 2 swords." "That's enough," he replied.
It's we'll figure out tone here. Well, I don't know if we'll figure it out, but we'll talk about it. Let's go to the O and comma observations. So when we do observations, we are looking at the details in the passage. We're looking for things that are repeated, truths about God, overall themes, and things that just strike us. So what do you all see?
Something that struck me was in verse 15, where Jesus said to them, "I've eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer." Mm-hmm. Like that, sometimes like adverbs just catch my eye a little bit, and eagerly was just something I was like, oh, like Jesus was really excited about this. But then verse 16 also confused me. He says, "I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom." So, hey, Clayton.
Oh man, we're already at that.
Wow. That
I'm
was a
sorry.
quick
I'm
one.
just like, this has been bugging me all day. I'm like, what? Okay, is he referring to, hey, at some point I will do this again with you? Or is this a spiritual metaphor? Is this, eventually it'll get fulfillment and then we'll share communion together when, it's confusing.
I find it confusing too. So
That's a relief.
Yeah. So I think part of it is the already not yet thing about the kingdom. So we talk about how the kingdom arrives in Jesus, at least in part, and is not fulfilled until he returns. Mm-hmm. And so there are times when Jesus talks about, you're going to experience the kingdom. And there are times when he says, some of you alive are going to see the kingdom. And he's talking about things that actually happen with his coming, his death, his resurrection, the sending of the Spirit, all of that stuff are manifestations of the kingdom coming on earth in the present, ready to go. And yet there are times when he also refers to things that come when, his second coming happens and the kingdom is in full. So which is this? Is it something that is saying, all right, after I'm raised from the dead, like the 40 days that I'm here, I'm going to eat and drink with you guys, which we know he ate. You won't have him drinking a cup, and we don't have him celebrating Passover. Or is he saying, all right, there's going to be a real feast at the end, and that's the next time I'm really going to do this. And so there's all of and there's a whole range in between. Is this saying, oh, when the kingdom comes, meaning after the resurrection, he's on his throne in heaven. When we celebrate communion, there's a real sense in which he celebrates with us, that we are drinking to the kingdom there. So there's all these different ways it could be taken. I don't necessarily know what I think is the option I prefer. So
Okay.
No.
Mm-hmm. Well, the interesting thing about that too, and is that word fulfillment is a repeating word in the passage because it comes back again in verse 37. I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment, which again, in the Gospels, when we see that word, I always feel like it's such an indicator that it is one big story. Like it is the big God story. It is one story all about God, because I think we miss sometimes that Jesus, we talk about Jesus, what did Jesus come to do? Well, he came to fulfill the law and the prophets. So it's always interesting when that word just continually comes up and Jesus uses it and talks about him fulfilling the fulfillment.
Connected to that, the repeated word of Passover is there. That's obviously the scene they're at. That's the holiday that they're celebrating. But the Passover is a commemoration of a historical event when God rescued the people from slavery in Egypt. And it's clear that it's not just coincidental that Jesus is doing this at a Passover meal. He's saying the meaning of this, of what Passover has always been about, is actually being fulfilled in what I'm doing. So, if you were at some sort of holiday meal, Thanksgiving coming up or whatever, and there was a family tradition that all of a sudden someone said, I'm like, this thing we always did, I'm giving it a new meaning. This is about me now. Like if we do candle lighting at Christmas, and if someone suddenly changed that tradition and said, you know what, all those years you've been lighting the candle, it was all pointing to me. You'd be like, you're co-opting Christmas? Right? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But if Jesus is saying the rescue of God's people from slavery, we have been remembering and celebrating that all the time. What I'm about to do is the ultimate version of that. Is the fulfillment. It's the connection of that. So it's cool.
Yeah. Well, and the irony there too is there's so much meaning in the Passover, like in the Passover feast. There's so much symbolism and so much meaning, and then you're sitting there with Jesus, who's like the fulfillment of it. It's all of the things, right?
Yeah.
Like bread has meaning, the cup has meaning, and he's sitting there going, "Hey, this is me. This is actually." The meaning is so much deeper, and I've always wondered if when they're sitting there, if they're actually getting it or not. Like, are you understanding that this is like very deep meaning in that moment? So I just in starting verse 10, verse 11, 12, he tells exactly what's going to happen, right? And Jesus does this sometimes, right? Like you're going to find a donkey, it's going to be tied up, take that donkey. But how does he do that? That's You're going to find
Jesus.
a man carrying a jar of water. He's going to meet you. Follow him to the house he enters.
I actually wrote down, what's the point of this part? Because I mean, like, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, okay.
I'm sure
I like
that's what it
Jesus' look
was,
is
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure what it contributes to the overall thing. Because it wasn't like a miracle in the sense of like, that couldn't happen, but then it did. It's like, you knew ahead of time, and then it happened, and then we went on with a meal.
Yeah.
Like, no one stood there and been like, wow, we predicted it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a funny detail.
So sometimes it does remind me of like before a church service, we'll be praying for, people to surrender their lives to Jesus and experience the power of, the presence of God. And we also pray that the technology will work.
Yes.
It's like, sometimes it's like, Lord, just make sure the screens turn on and that's what that reminds me of. It's like God's into those little details of like, he thinks about those things as much as the big grandiose, but also
That's probably true.
Yeah. Okay. So verse 21, I mean, he basically talks about betrayal is about to happen. Like he's like, and by the way, there's this, the Passover points to me and one of you is going to betray me. Like that's like a very significant moment. Like I started to think about like my community group. If we were at the table with Jesus and we're having this moment, and then these guys I do life with, for many years, and then Jesus, and one of you is about to do something pretty awful.
Which one, dude?
Yeah.
Joe. I kid. But
you just called this one out.
But it did. I mean, I was trying to think about the emotional impact that would have on this group of guys that they've been literally living together for 3 years.
Well, when in verse 23 it says they began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. What is that conversation like?
Yeah,
to just have a gloss of like, well, they talked about it. It's like, no, how did they talk about it? Because it might be like, no, Joe, you.
I think it's you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. A repeated word that I see a few times is kingdom. Jesus clearly connects this meal that they're having with the meal in the kingdom, and he says this is a foreshadowing of that, points forward, and then he talks about what life in the kingdom looks like when he's talking about who's great and all of that sort of thing. So he's definitely trying to paint a picture of the coming kingdom.
This whole conversation around the table is strange, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've got, the whole thing is, but you've got the Passover, which I have always understood to be like this very like holy moment, right? You're celebrating something that the freedom of your people. I mean, this is a whole thing. It's all symbolic, and there's all these incredibly beautiful, like deep meanings. And now they're arguing about who's going to betray, who would betray them. And then the dispute arises as to which of them was going to be the greatest. How does that come up at dinner?
Oh, corny.
Around really, men? What happens in the community?
You've never been in a men's locker room.
Apparently.
I mean,
no, I haven't.
Okay, look,
actually,
that's probably
hold on, better answer. No, I have
no,
not.
You have not. But
help me.
So even if it's not dudes sitting around the table, because that seems just incredibly realistic. I also think of let's think about a family holiday meal. I don't know. Passover meal is long enough that maybe they're like, oh, this is the usual, the whatever, and there are holy moments, and then but like Thanksgiving, there are some holy moments. We all go around and feel warm and say what we're thankful for. But who hasn't gotten in or avoided some sort of argument at a Thanksgiving dinner?
Okay, fair.
Or kids like on the way to Christmas service or like in service, like arguing about like, no, my kids are gonna be better, and like we're gonna find a way to fight.
Well, and I can see the jump from like someone's gonna betray, like I don't know, like James over there has been looking suspicious. He's like, are you kidding me? Like I was at the Transfiguration. I'm gonna be one of the greatest.
Yes,
at Jesus' table. Like I could see people fighting, going from
that is an interesting
betrayal.
connection.
No, I clearly Jesus cares most about me.
Yeah, when there's some insecurity in your status, you then say, well, wait, that's a good connection. Yeah.
That is true.
All right, I'm going to make the observation here in this section where they're arguing about who's the greatest. Just a really simple one of this is another example of the flipping things on the head. Jesus has been doing this all throughout the Gospel of Luke. Here he's very overt. He's saying, who's actually greater? Like he takes the setting they're in, saying, you would think that the person who's sitting at the table is the greatest. And I'm telling you, it's the person who keeps bringing in the food and, is doing all this stuff. They're the greatest person. And he's just saying your instincts are wrong.
Yeah, it's a bit of an indictment on power and strength. I mean, they're jumping to, we should be the greatest, we should be the most powerful, the strongest, and he goes, no, it's the youngest among you. It's the one who serves. It's we've been singing that song in our worship services recently, that the upside down, the simple kingdom, like your kingdom is upside down. It's different.
Yeah,
and just he really hits that point so well right here.
Well, and he really talks about you are those who have stood by me in my trials. So you're all arguing about this, but you are those who have stood by me in my trials. And I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. He takes it all and just like levels it.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, I am saying, he does talk about who's greater, the ones at the table, the one who serves. But then he just like levels it. Like, you've all stood by me in my trials. You're all going to sit on thrones and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Like,
yeah,
enough.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah. Well, and there's also, it counters the insecurity. Like if you think, oh, here's what I got to do. I got to prove myself in this room. He's saying, point proven. Like it doesn't matter. I got thrones already labeled for you. So don't sweat it. Why are you arguing? Like you're going to be fine because you're sticking with me. So like there is a certain amount of, we compare ourselves to people so much. And that's where the fight comes from, man.
Well, then there's the shift in verse 31 that Jesus says, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat, which is a weird thing to say. And I remember years ago teaching on this passage, I just remember saying like, what in the world is sifting and what does this look like? And so I remember researching, and everywhere you research what describes sifting of wheat, the word violent shaking is typically associated with sifting as wheat. And so really the wheat is crushed and pressed and pushed to try and get the edible wheat away from the inedible wheat. And so it's a very like intense process. You don't read sifting as wheat as like a really hard thing, but really it's if Satan is asking for permission to really put you through it, Peter. Like, and which this whole interaction is so fascinating for a couple reasons to me. One is that Satan has to ask permission. He doesn't just get to do it. He has to ask the permission of Christ. Like Christ still has authority. And then verse 32, but he goes, but Peter, I've prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And then when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. Like, there's just so much happening in these two verses that make me go, wait. Okay, so Satan's under the authority of Christ. Jesus will pray for us, and then when we've turned back away from this, we can strengthen others. Like all of that feels really pungent in this moment.
Well, just I don't know whether Simon should be scared or reassured.
Yes.
So you just gave Satan permission to do what to me? And then the confidence of like, when you're done, that's maybe that's really realistic. I mean, that is sort of what the Christian life feels like sometimes. You're like, we're gonna have to do what? Like you're asking me.
Yeah.
And yet there is a certain confidence of like, yeah, but on the other side of this, we know the end of the story. And in some ways we don't believe the end of the story. To say, am I going to make it through this? Both, am I going to be able to endure it? But also, am I going to show myself to actually be faithful, and to have Jesus say, no, there's a on the other side of that experience. It's pretty critical.
Is there any significance in, he calls him Simon in verse 31 and Peter in verse 34? Do you think there is? I mean,
I don't know.
It's just something.
Sometimes little switches like that are important. Simon's his given name. Peter is his nickname, meaning he's a rock. But I don't know what else would give us a clue. But sometimes,
just a interesting moment. I mean, he uses the name Peter when he's saying, you're going to deny 3 times that you know me, which again is another one of those like the hand of the betrayers at the table. Yeah. And also, by the way,
does that mean I'm not the betrayer? I get to do some other awful thing?
There's going to be something. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Clayton.
I've been waiting this whole time.
I'm sorry. I can't wait any longer. 35, Jesus asked him, when I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing. And he said, but now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. I mean, the whole section is like, wait, what?
There's so much going on.
What is happening?
Yes.
There's so much going on.
Would you rather explain this or have hiccups?
Okay, I'm gonna do my best to at least make sense of the parts of what's going on. I don't know if I can totally capture all of it. First, he's contrasting. Hey, remember when I sent you out before? I told you didn't need to bring any supplies because your needs are going to be met. He's describing this moment when they go from village to village announcing that Jesus is about to arrive, and people welcome them. He says, someone's going to welcome you into their home. Stay as long and eat whatever they give you. There's this sense of confident, you're going to be provided for, and people are going to welcome you. He's contrasting that now with, okay, we're in a different moment. Don't trust the people around you. This isn't a let's see who's going to protect you, because we're in danger here. So like Jesus being arrested and the disciples being scattered is not the same thing as, guess what? They're flocking for miracles, So yeah. we're in a new phase right here. There is a quote here, he will be numbered with the transgressors. I don't have the footnote, so off the top of my head, I think that's Isaiah 53. Is that right? Okay. Yep. So Isaiah 53, very famous passage talking about Jesus, who is innocent, being condemned as one who is guilty. And in there, it's saying he's going to be treated like he's, a bad guy, right? He's one of the transgressors. He's one of the scourge on society, and we got to crack down on him, which is what happens. They're saying he's going to destabilize everything. He's a bad guy. Let's arrest him. So it's talking about that. Now, the part that is hard to figure out is the swords. Because he obviously lists it, and you don't take the supply list very deliberately. He's making a general point, right? He said, go get a purse and a bag and a sword and a cloak. Like, here's the truth. The disciples are not actually going to travel very far. They're going to just go hide in their rooms. So Jesus is not saying you better get ready for a long journey where you're going to be in danger. So he's making a different point than here's the actual list you need. So there's a little part of the disciples saying, here's a couple of swords, where it almost feels like one of those times where they are like, we missed the point, didn't we? Like all those times they take him literally or whatever. So I think there might be one of those.
Well, literally right after this, in the same chapter that we didn't read today, but they come to arrest him, and Peter slices his ear off, and Jesus, no,
sword.
put the sword away.
So it's pretty obvious in the context that Jesus is not saying you're going to need swords because you're supposed to defend yourself with them, or you're going to be attacking someone with them, which is why you'd need a sword. Also, there's at least 12 of them there, and I don't know what other people are associated with them, and they're like, we got 2 swords, and Jesus is like, that's enough, right? And I don't know if he's saying,
what's the tone?
Well, 2 will do, or if he's just like, okay, guys, we're done talking about this. You obviously missed the point. That's enough with this. I think what's going on with the swords is not really about whether or not they need to arm themselves. I think he's saying this is a situation of danger now. And he's painting the picture of people who are alert to danger. And don't think everybody's going to welcome you. I know you think we marched in here at Passover and there was a crowd cheering for us, and in a moment I'm about to, you're about to sit on those thrones. This is not that moment. I think that's the basic idea.
Yeah, very interesting.
All right, let's move on to one of the M's and comma. We're going to do meditation first. And for this one, because it is a story and it is a scene, I think this is a really good candidate for the kind of meditation when you picture yourself as one of the characters or sitting in the scene saying, what would I feel? What would I have seen and heard? How would I have experienced this? You can almost imagine yourself at the table listening to the conversation. Maybe you're one of the lesser disciples who never gets called on. It's like, I'm Nathaniel. I don't know what I'm up to. Who? But either way, you say, if I was there, what would this be like? Now, we give you about 45 seconds to do this. So you're probably at this point just going to pick a detail and say, what would it be like to be there for, the bread or the argument or whatever. But if you got more time, go ahead and slowly read through the whole passage and do this exercise. All right, let's talk about the other M in comma, message. If you're going to take something you observed and sum it up in a principle, what would it be?
Well, kind of thinking about what we just meditated on, the idea of putting yourself in someone's shoes there at the table. No matter whose shoes I'm in, I'm thinking, wow, Jesus just knows. Like you see over and over again, like he just already knows. He knows about this man carrying a jar of water. He knows that someone's going to betray him. It truly points out the fulfillment. And so honestly, my message that I wrote down was Jesus knows. So stop being concerned with the wrong things. So I feel like that's the theme that keeps repeating over and over again.
It's good. So my message is all about that conversation about who's going to be considered the greatest. So my message is greatness in God's kingdom is achieved through serving and becoming lesser.
I'm picking up on the theme of the kingdom as well as some of the things about serving. And I'm saying the Lord's table reveals the upside down kingdom. So I'm thinking about how this is a picture of if the king's holding court here with these people he's going to put on thrones, saying, this is what it really looks like. Service and sacrifice and humility. The Lord's table reveals that. All right, let's talk about the A in comma, application. What do we do in light of all of this?
Yeah, well, my message, again, pretty simple, that Jesus knows and stop being concerned with the wrong things. And again, just kept picturing all these different things. Even just, I'm so struck by the idea that they are doing this Passover meal that has so much deep meaning and they're arguing about such petty little things. And I think that happens all the time. I mean, it happens in the church. We get concerned with the little things and we miss the whole deeper meaning to it. It happens in my own life. I get concerned about all the things and I miss some of the deeper meaning. And it's just, there's confidence in being able to say that. So I think, my application is what I said, just don't be concerned with the wrong things, really looking and seeing where are the times when I'm thinking like, who's the greatest, or where am I concerned about my status or what's happening? When am I concerned about, they aren't even concerned about where they're going to have the Passover because Jesus just knows that's what's going to happen. And I am one who can be prone to worrying about the wrong things. So really taking that time to consider where are the spaces where I'm missing it, because Jesus already knows, and he's taking care of it.
All right, my message was greatness in God's kingdom is achieved through serving and becoming lesser. So my application was to identify areas in my life where pride and pursuit of earthly greatness still sneak in. I think it is so subtle, and it almost just slips in without realizing it in the different areas of my life where pride can just be like, and here I am again, and here I am pursuing earthly greatness. I think it comes through parenting, like how strange it is when like our kids succeed, where we go, oh, like we did it. I'm a great dad. My kids get glow notes at school, and it's like when they get a glow note, I go,
glow
and
note.
you're
earthly
glowing
greatness,
too.
like I'm and I was saying like that's such a strange thing. I think even as pastors, I mean, we can look at the disciples here and be like, how ridiculous it is that at the Passover and Jesus sharing this, that they're arguing about who's greater. But I mean, they spent 3 years serving God's people and being in significant moments. And we don't refer to them as pastors, but I think in ministry, there are moments where you go, like when people start, oh, you did so great at X, Y, or Z, or, that pride of and pursuing earthly greatness can just subtly sneak in. And maybe we don't argue with other people about it, but internally we can have that same kind of monologue of like, oh, how great I am. And so I think we do have to, and I'll say I have to work very intentionally at making sure those things don't cloud my view of Jesus.
My message is that the Lord's table reveals the upside down kingdom. And I want to take this very directly to the Lord's table. Like when we celebrate communion, my application is to come with an awareness of that and a humble gratitude for it. So there are lots of things you could be thinking about at communion. And most people know kind of the default of, I'm thinking about the suffering of Jesus. I'm thinking about my sin and confessing it. These are very appropriate, right things. But the symbolism around communion, when you read scripture, is very wide and very robust. There's a lot of things that are connected to this meal. And the kingdom is one of those. And so there are times when I will be celebrating communion, and I will be thinking, look at all of us ordinary people who get to come and eat at the King's table. Or when I raise the cup, I think, okay, I could just take this and open it and drink it or whatever. But sometimes I like hold it up and I'm like, it's like a toast. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, here's to the kingdom. Here's to the King. Yeah. Like this is somehow he said, you guys are all going to be there. And there's like this incredible gratitude that you can experience every time you do communion and say, this is it. This is what Jesus said. One day he's going to have this feast with us. He's going to be right here. And spiritually speaking, he is with us right now. So we are gathered with Jesus at his table. The King is there. And who are we? This upside down weird kingdom, you know, and like, this sounds so strange, but honestly, looking around the room and being like, who are these yokels? You know, like when you hang out at a church, you just know all of our quirks and all of our hangups and all of the ways that we just aren't the way we're supposed to be and our weaknesses and whatever, and all the good things too. But there's something about saying, you know what? We're all still at the table. This is so cool. And so I think there's something about saying we come to the table humble and we come to the table grateful.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Join us again next Monday for a new episode where we'll be looking at another passage from the Bible Savvy reading schedule. And in the meantime, if you're not following along with the reading plan, check out BibleSavvy.com. Also, you can subscribe and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening or watching on. Email us your questions or suggestions at podcast@BibleSavvy.com. Lastly, tell your friends, and we'll talk to you next week.